This is Montana This Morning.
Good Tuesday morning. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. And good morning to Miller here after his long birthday weekend.
I did, yeah.
Did you have a good time?
I did. Spend it with my family. We has anybody been to the maze at Grandpa's farm?
Yes.
That was our first time. We had a blast.
Yes.
It was so much fun.
Did you get out? Did you figure it out?
We did.
Okay.
I
good
think
job.
well our 10-year-old's still there. That was tough.
She'll
It was,
figure it out,
especially at dark. It wasn't that easy, but it was what a great time we had out there. So shout out to all those folks out there. What a wonderful time. A lot of folks may not want to go into the maze today, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold and snowy. Look at that. Now, the good news is we're not having any road issues here in Billings. We do have some slick roads. We have some bridges that are slick with some icing there, of course, and some overpasses. Mainly the accumulation is on the grassy areas. We've seen upwards of about an inch in spots. There's a great shot there, courtesy of the Stockman Bank weather cam up on the rims. We're looking at maybe another 3 to 5 inches here in Billings before this system pushes out of the area. 32 right now at the airport. Feels like 25. Look at that humidity, 92%. There's a lot of moisture that we're tapping into. It's so moist that this is a wet, heavy snow. It's going to bring down possibly some tree limbs, power lines. We've already seen some issues with that already, so there's still that chance today. Winds out of the north at about 8 miles an hour. Let's crunch some numbers. Yesterday, our high up to 51. We won't come close to that today. Overnight low getting down to about 31. We had close to half an inch of precipitation yesterday here in Billings. Livingston had just over 3/10 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch in Sheridan. We're going to definitely add to that total today as we have that steady stream of snow coming in. Right now we're looking at temperatures in the 20s and 30s. Highs today mainly in the 30s with all that snow. We'll go with a high of 34 this afternoon here in Billings on this National Farmers Day.
Yes, thank you to all the farmers out there. Might be staying in a few extra minutes this morning to gather that last bit of warmth. Maybe they've already fed the cows, but either way, thank you so much for all that you do for our families and our communities, and it's just amazing. I'm blown away every year when I head out and I see all those fields successfully growing. I'm like, they've
done a good job, especially this year in the wake of such drought, the bad drought conditions that we've had.
Goodness, yeah.
I mean, kudos to you for pulling through.
Yes.
Great job there.
All right, Miller, well, we do have some news, so I will get on to it. Thanks. We begin in Washington, D.C. this morning, where the budget is still a hot topic, pitting Democrats against Democrats. Reporter Joe St. George joins us from the nation's capital this morning. Good morning, Joe. I want to know, what does the future hold for President Biden's $3.5 trillion budget?
Yeah, this is this spending plan that we've really gone in depth the last several months on it. Democrats want to include things such as free community college, expanded free community college, paid family leave, expansion of the child tax credit, really a list of several of the main progressive priorities that you've heard campaigned for in Montana and across the country over the last several years. But the reality here in Washington this morning is that they're going to have to shrink their list. In fact, Speaker Nancy Pelosi wrote what's known as a Dear Colleague letter last night to members of Congress, the members of the Democratic caucus in the House, and she alluded to the fact that tough decisions are going to have to be made over the course of the coming days if anything is going to pass. Because the reality is, while progressives on one side, you said it best, Victoria, Democrats versus Democrats. On one side, you have progressives who want it all. On the other side, you have moderates who say, we don't want a package worth $3.5 trillion. So if you're going to lower that package, that means you have to cut out some of those programs, and you have to appease moderate Democrats. Democrats like Senator Tester of Montana, who wants it 100% paid for, any plan that goes through. So to answer your questions, tough decisions are going to have to be made, and many of these programs that progressives have promised are going to have to be cut if anything is going to get through. We're in a crucial time here for whether or not President Biden's agenda can get through Congress.
Now let's shift our focus over to Texas. The governor issued an executive order that bans vaccine mandates, and we do have a similar law already here in Montana. So how will those state laws clash with federal mandates, and I guess which side is more likely to win?
Yeah, you're talking about the governor of Texas, who issued basically an executive order in the last 24 hours saying that that private businesses will not be forced to comply with any mandates regarding vaccines. This is why this matters for business owners waking up with us in Montana. We are waiting federal guidelines from OSHA, which perhaps people are most familiar with because they put a flyer in the workplace that reminds workers to wash their hands or wear goggles if they're at a construction site. But OSHA also has the authority to issue vaccine orders, or at least the White House certainly thinks it does. And several weeks ago now, President Biden basically directed OSHA to craft new rules that any business over 100 employees will require vaccines or face weekly testing for their employees. That order is expected in the coming days. After all, it's been several weeks since President Biden issued it. So we're going to face several legal fights in this country over the status of vaccine mandates. Republican governors are going to say one thing. Already 24 Republican attorney generals have said they're going to sue when that rule gets announced. But there will be a legal fight over whether or not vaccines can be forced on individual employees and on business owners who don't want to make it obligatory for their employees. So it's going to be a fascinating debate. It's an unfolding debate with it will impact millions across the country and certainly Montana.
Right. A fight that is far from over. Joe, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and all that very useful information this morning. You have a great day.
Good to see you, Victoria.
All right, now closer to home. It's that time of year. The first snow of the season started falling on Monday and more follows today. It is knocking out power with outages reported in multiple spots in Billings, including one that affected as many as 3,000 customers on Billings West End. It is a big change from our dry summer, which brought record-setting temperatures and extreme drought, which hurt crops and the bottom line for farmers. Forecasters say relief from drought could be coming, and weather patterns forming in the Pacific are signaling a wet winter. So what could that mean for farmers next spring and summer? Officials with the National Weather Service say there are no guarantees.
The problem we could run into is we could get all a nice, a bountiful moisture winter and then go into next spring, and then if the water tap shuts off again, it's easy to go back into drought, right? I mean, if you go into the summer months and you don't get much precip, you get hotter temperatures, it's easy to jump right back into a drought. So it's a tough thing to break out of for sure.
In Bozeman yesterday, the snow really packed a punch. Tree limbs came crashing down on power lines, bringing power outages that even forced MSU to cancel classes. The return of snow often coincides with the return of the flu. This year, doctors expect it to roar back after the predicted twindemic of flu and COVID-19 failed to materialize last year. One infectious disease expert says few signs point to a far more active upcoming season for the flu. Travel is picking up, kids are back in school, and there will be more face-to-face socializing than this time last year. The best defense against the flu is getting a shot, which has developed to provide extra protection in 2021.
This year, they've done things a little bit differently, where instead of having some vaccines that protect against 2 strains and some that protect against 4, all 4 major vaccine candidates protect against all 4 strains.
If you haven't got your COVID-19 shot yet, it is safe to get both. The doctors say you can even get them on the same day. As more Americans are urged to get COVID-19 shots, drug maker Merck may be a step closer to distributing its COVID-19 treatment that comes in a pill. Merck is asking the Food and Drug Administration for an emergency use authorization for its medication targeted at unvaccinated people. The company says early trials show the pill cut hospitalizations and deaths by about half. The new medicine could be especially useful in poorer countries with low vaccination rates. This Friday marks the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. While the traditions of each Hispanic culture may be different, there's a husband and wife duo who want to share their Mexican heritage with the rest of Billings. A drive down Grand Avenue in Billings.
The name of the store is Abarrote. Abarrote means like a grocery store.
And a turn into Grand Plaza.
In Asuncion, it's the town I came from. That's my hometown.
We'll take you to.
And that's why I call it Abarrote Asuncion, so that, not forget where I came from,
Chris and his wife, Josefina, have not forgotten. Anyone with a Hispanic upbringing will feel an instant connection when they see some of the items sitting on their store shelves. That was one of my favorites growing up too.
That's the best seller over here.
And you have to be careful when you eat it or else it breaks apart in a powder, right?
They able to make what they want to make. Like sometimes they're looking for ingredients for tamales, pozoles, like all the Mexican food. And I'm so happy because people come here and they're looking for it.
Getting these hard to find goods to Billings is no simple task. Chris heads to Idaho Falls every 2 weeks to pick up items shipped in for his store.
That's a part of the job, you know. I have to go and I decide open the store. So I have to do what it takes to keep it running.
And every drive has been well worth it. The Antonios opened their store right before the pandemic hit. Surviving that and a look at Montana's census numbers show they might be at the right place at the right time. From 2010 to 2020, the Hispanic population grew from 28,000 to 45,000, making it the state's second fastest growing ethnic group. Chris made his journey to the United States more than 30 years ago, working as a farmhand.
First job I had in Dillon, Montana. That day probably I make $600 a month. Yeah, it's a lot of money for me that time.
That's why he's able to empathize with his customers.
And I see a lot of guys coming from Mexico, and some of it, they don't speak any English. That's why I opened the store, trying to help them out too.
With a crisis underway at the U.S.-Mexico border, Chris can attest making a living in the United States is not easy.
When you're in your country, you think, you know, I got to go to the United States and just make a lot of money, but it's not that way. You know, you got to work hard too, and that way if you want to do something, you got to dream. You got to just keep trying.
The Antonios are the first in their family to own a store. With no prior business experience, they followed their hearts and their dreams, and now they're paving a path for their 3 daughters.
That's our goal, to see our kids growing up and have better life than we had before.
Josefina has been working since she was 12 years old and only made it through the 6th grade. Chris made it through 3rd. So they're celebrating the accomplishments of their oldest daughter, who's a freshman at MSUB, a first-generation high school graduate and college student.
That's what I told me. You got to study. That way you're not going to be like your dad. I want the best for them.
But a trait they'll certainly want from their mom and dad: hard work. The Antonios have big plans on the horizon as they get the store ready for its next steps.
We have too many things in our mind, and I hope in the future we will reach that dream.
The store is open 7 days a week. The best way to find their hours and pictures of their newest products is by visiting their Facebook page. And turning now to crime news, the Laurel Police Department is asking for help to identify 2 suspects involved in an assault. It happened back on September 6th at a restaurant in Laurel. The department needs help identifying the female you see here and this male. If you have any information, you are asked to contact the Laurel Police Department at 628-8737. No other information was released, but the department previously said it was investigating a September 6th incident where a juvenile boy was stabbed. The Republicans vying to fill Montana's newest congressional seat are already raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. Former Congressman and U.S. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke has raised more money than any candidate, including Democrats, at $600,000. Former State Senator Al Olszewski has raised $300,000 in the first 3 months of his campaign. The boundary for Montana's new congressional district has yet to be drawn. Cora Newman has raised more than any other Democrat, bringing in $470,000 so far. Stick with us here on Montana This Morning.